Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I'm Dana K. White. I blog over at aslobcomesclean.com. That's where I share my personal deslobification process. As I figure out ways to keep my own home under control, I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that actually work in real life for real people, people who don't love cleaning and organizing. Thanks for joining me today. This is podcast number 258, and I'm calling it Cleaning for Us. Guys, welcome back. It is August, and I am back from my summer break, which was the weirdest summer break ever, especially because it's not actually over-ish, sort of, whatever. If you're listening to this in the future, I'm hoping that you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure I said that in all my other podcasts in March, April, and May of 2020 before I started my summer break. But you guys, I can't not address this. First of all, I'm happy to be podcasting again. Happy to talk to you guys again. I have missed y'all. I really have. And it's not been a normal summer anyway. So all the brain relaxation that I generally get over the summer that the break usually gives me, that then gives me the energy to get started again in August. Yeah, that's different this year. We'll just call it different. I'm not going to say it's non-existent. It still was helpful for me, but there's a lot going on, and we are still in Corona times. And wow, who in the world would have thought back in March that this was the deal? But just a real quick reminder of my summer, not a reminder, but oh wow, this is going to be good. This is going to be great. Aren't you guys so glad that I'm back? Anyway, but just what has gone on this summer, a lot of things did not go on. Our local pool didn't open, which meant my kid who had a job as a lifeguard didn't have that job. Thankfully got another one. Let's see. We didn't go anywhere on vacation. Our kids didn't get to go to camp. It was pretty tough. But my oldest left for college a week and a half ago. So that was the thing. I felt like I had been holding my breath. I don't think it ever occurred to me back in March, honestly, that it would even be a question. I'm like, how long is this thing going to last? But I would say by end of April, May, I was starting to get pretty nervous. So I felt like I had held my breath for months, hoping that he was going to get to go. So it's kind of skewed the whole emotional impact of that for me, because it really has not been as much about me dreading him leaving and, oh my word, I can't believe this is coming and I can't believe we're here already, like it would have been. Instead, it was, oh, please, 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 please. I hope he gets to go. I hope he gets to go. Lots of praying. So anyway, he did end up getting to go, and I am definitely an emotional roller coaster these days, but it's different than it would have been. So anyway, just kind of catching you up on just some of the basics for us. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about cleaning for us is this is a conversation that has been happening. And there's part of me that thinks I probably should have looked back over and make sure that this wasn't a topic that I covered in April and May. But if it is, oh well, whatever. This conversation is legitimate right now because for the most part, we're keeping our homes closed. And if you are like me, which is, it's always, even still, even now, even though I have come so far in getting my own home under control and I am able to volunteer to have people over, I mean, I would still like to have an hour or two to get my house ready. I'd feel better if I had a day or two, but I'm willing to do it. Where I used to, in the days before I started what I call my deslobification process, I was not willing to have people over. I mean, I wanted to have people over. I desperately wanted to. I wanted to be that person. That's who I thought I was. That's how I thought of myself. But I didn't. And it was because of the state of my home. And so I would either commit to something several weeks or months out to give myself the motivation to get my house under control, to be able to let them in the front door. It was extremely, extremely stressful for me to do that. But I would either do that, or I would not volunteer to have people over. Or if I volunteered to have someone over and then life meant that I couldn't actually stop every other single thing in my entire life for several weeks to get my house ready for them to be able to come inside, then I would find an excuse to not have them over. So what I'm saying here is, I think for a lot of us who struggle in this way, in some ways it's a little bit of a relief that we can't have anybody over anyway. Like, okay, not because we don't want to be around people, not because we don't desire to be hospitable, but just, okay, well, I can't have anybody over anyway. So for this period of time, I am not going to have a majorly stressful situation. I mean, we've had a couple of different times where, my daughter, I think I mentioned this, time passage awareness disorder is real, and it's extra during this whole quarantine-ish time. I say ish because, things are backish to normal, whatever. But they're not normal at all. So I know people are always wondering what you're doing for school. Well, our school district is doing online for the first chunk of time. And then at some point in September, we'll go to in person. So we're starting out the year. They say that. I'm not expecting anything. I'm just like, whatever, we'll do whatever you guys want to do. But, a big part of our motivation is that our kids are involved in different things that, are only going to be able to happen if they can actually do things in person. So anyway, so my daughter made her drill team. Well, did you guys know that, and maybe it's not this way everywhere, but this is our only experience and our first experience. It's like, okay, well, this is how you have to do your hair for practice this day. Like, you have to have this kind of a braid. Oh my word, you guys, this is for the person who is not a super girly mama, and oh my word, my braids are terrible. Anyway, it's been a little stressful, but so her friend came over. Well, our house was okay. I mean, so there was this moment where I was like, oh, okay, commit. Oh, wait. You know what? Let's just do it in the front yard in the shade. I mean, just because this is Corona time. And so we haven't had people inside our house other than plumbers because, oh my goodness, we've got something going on with the bathroom. And it was just like out of nowhere. All of a sudden, literally, I go to drain the bathtub and nothing happened. And I'm like, what? And then I hear this glub glub in the toilet. And so now we think there's some big, humongous, crazy expensive thing going on, but they don't know what it is yet. So anyway, they've been out here 3 different times. But my point is, we have had to have a couple times where people have had to come in the house. But as a general rule, we're not inviting people into our home right now, which then allows us to go longer times without having people over, which then for those people like me, who that's the very best motivation, is to know that somebody's going to be ringing your doorbell in a little bit, that motivation is just gone. Okay. And so then there can be a tendency for the house to just start getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And all of a sudden you look around and you go, we're living in total chaos. And then you have that frustration over, why don't we just do this for ourselves? Like, that's what we should be doing. Why? And I've talked about this a lot on the blog, and I'm sure I've talked about it here on the podcast as well. But that was a huge frustration with myself that I faced, was like, why is it that I'm so crazy motivated when other people come over? And yet it's like, I cannot make myself clean to that same, or declutter or straighten or whatever to that same level just for us. And yet we're the ones who live here. And so, so it's a real struggle. So that's what we're talking about today. I've gone on for a long time, and I've said that, okay, like I said, this is the first time back after summer. So my brain, it's not going to get better. What am I saying? Anyway, okay, here we go. First thing I want to say is, don't make this a stumbling block. Okay. The guilt over this is real. Okay. I mean, it's legitimate. I mean, you're listening to a podcast about cleaning because you want your house to be better. Okay. I mean, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. And so because you're listening to this podcast, I know that you care. And yet sometimes you can, and I know this because this is me, I look around my house at some points and I think, especially in the olden days, and I would go, well, obviously I don't care. Like looking around, when I would see my living room just, with all sorts of different things piled in the corners and all over the fireplace and all this. I mean, I was like, it's clear that I don't care, but I feel like I care. So what's the problem here? Okay. And so this little meme-ish quote, when I say meme, I mean like, this is the type of inspirational saying, why would we clean for other people when we're the ones who actually live here? Don't we deserve it? Yeah. I mean, like that's me just coming up with that off the top of my head, but I know that there are memes out there saying that type thing, or I'm sure there are blog posts written on that kind of stuff too. Not by me, but of people saying you should care. Your family are the people who deserve this space more than some random guest who's in it. That's all true. We all know that. Okay. And I'm giving you the credit for knowing that because I know you know that because you're listening to this podcast, which means you care about cleaning your house. Okay. But the problem is those types of quotes, especially when it feels like, whether it's true or not, for the person who is completely bewildered because I do care about my family and I do want the house to be comfortable for them. And yet it still seems like it's always a complete disaster. And I still, what is this? I do care, but I can't seem to do it. I do put effort in, but it doesn't seem to help. Being that kind of person, it can feel like those types of, inspirational sayings are aimed straight at me. And that can make me feel very guilty and it can make me feel very defensive. Don't let this be a stumbling block. Don't let this be the thing that makes you go, obviously I don't care. What's wrong with me? I thought I was a good mother and I'm not a good mother. Just don't let this be a stumbling block. Okay. Know that you are not the only one out there who has experienced that kind of a reaction to that kind of a quote. Okay. Also know that quick little quotes like that are my biggest pet peeve. I mean, quick little quotes that are supposed to solve all of my problems that I've struggled with my entire life in your one super powerful phrase that you came up with. It's really hurtful, and it's to me more hurtful than helpful. Because when somebody just like gives this, well, you should clean for your family because that's who actually lives there and that's who deserves it. And I always feel like, okay, so you're trying to solve all my problems with that one thing. Sorry, that doesn't work that way. Anyway, so here's the thing. Get over the guilt and let's move forward. We're going to talk about the actual, like what to do when this is your big frustration. I'm going to give you steps to actually implement in your home that are going to change this for you. Okay. So the guilt, whatever, we're not going to worry about that. Guilt is not motivating. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but it's not motivating in a way that lasts. I don't think. Anyway, also know this is an age-old question, and this is something that everybody, and I'm going to say almost everybody feels and struggles with. Like even the people who you would think their house is absolutely great. I mean, and if you could have a house like theirs, you'd think you would be just as happy as you could be because it feels pretty much perfect all the time, even unexpectedly with you showing up. But I'm just saying this is normal. Like this is normal. It's kind of like when I talked about, I think with holiday getting ready or something, and we had Thanksgiving at my house, and my husband would sometimes get frustrated because I would get real worked up about all there was to do. And I was like, listen, this is normal. All women get this worked up. Not all. I'm sure there's the exception. But for the most part, it stresses us out to get a huge event ready and have a bunch of people over. So the fact that you clean more when people come over than you do on a normal day, don't feel guilty about that. That's normal. Even people whose houses are always under control, that's still normal. Okay. It's extra stressful for those of us who have slob vision and don't see what's happening on the regular. Okay, so this was my little thing I had written when I was talking about the memes. Like this little memeish quote that's supposed to turn my life around with an inspirational or guilt-inducing statement. I always want to say, oh, I've never thought of it that way. Now I'm different. Thank you. That's just not reality. I mean, there is the rare occasion where one little statement or one thing will change how I look at something or change how I act or change how I function for the rest of my life. I wish that was the way to change in all situations, but it's pretty rare. If you're going to change in 20 different ways over the course of a year, you're lucky if one of those ways was an instantaneous change. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what to do and why it happens. So the benefits of a doorbell are the extra oomph that it gives you in cleaning. For some people, that extra oomph is a little extra shining, is extra paying attention to detail. Oh, I didn't notice that baseboard had a little missed spot on it, whatever. For some of us, it's pretty major, that extra oomph, that, oh my goodness, what in the world have I let happen in here? Okay. And for some of us, it's the main motivating factor to make us wake up and go, oh yeah, this is not okay how my house looks. So in the moment where you're awakened by that quote or that thought, instead of the doorbell, since we don't have doorbells right now, these are some strategies. Number one, focus on the visibility rule. I have podcasts, more than one, talking about the visibility rule. I also mention it a lot because it's huge. Okay. The visibility rule is this. When you get inspired to clean or declutter, I'm generally talking about cleaning. I'm generally talking about decluttering. Start in the space, the area that guests would see first. There is a strange thing that happens when you get this urge to declutter, to go to that back corner of your master bedroom closet and start in there. Unfortunately, you can spend all your time in there. At the end of the day, you're exhausted and your house doesn't look any better. Okay. And it's a natural thing to say, I'm going to spend some time during quarantine or during whatever, time where my kids are working on their schoolwork on the computer or whatever. I'm going to spend some time decluttering and make my house better. And for some strange reason, the natural tendency is to head to those invisible spaces, those spaces that you don't use all the time and you don't see all the time. Instead, start in the visible spaces. Okay. Number one, I focus and I base all of my advice and my strategies on what I personally can do and what will help me do it. So the reason for the visibility rule for myself is that I'm going to see the decluttered, better space on a whole lot more regular basis than I'm going to see that back corner, okay, of the master bedroom closet. So even though I didn't really register it before, even though I didn't see it before, that there was a pile of stuff by the front door, now that it's gone, every time I walk by there, I go, oh, that looks so much better. And I also don't have this nagging feeling in the back of my head. What if someone knocked on the front door? How would I keep them from coming inside? Or how would I keep them from seeing inside or whatever? There's just that nagging feeling is gone because that front area that they would very first see when they walk in the front door looks better. Therefore, because I'm seeing it and I'm going, instead of not even realizing that every time I go by there, I'm like, I'm actually given more energy. It inspires me to continue decluttering, and I work on the next most visible space and the next most visible space. So that's the visibility rule. That's how it works for me to make progress in my own home because I'm the only person I can control. Okay. Here's how it works in your family. They see the visible progress. They see that the house looks better. They see that you've put work in, that you're trying, that you're putting effort in. Okay. And the reason I say this is it's not just an inspirational meme that comes across your Facebook feed every once in a while. This can be a real conversation among family members. And it can also be something that causes some resentment among family members. Okay. Of you're freaking out trying to get the house perfect for this neighbor who has never been to our house and they've lived next door for 12 years. I'm just making all this up. Anyway, you're freaking out over that because you want to impress them and make them feel comfortable, but then you don't try to do anything for me. I know you're doing things because you're listening to this podcast and you're working on things. My point in the visibility rule is for you to do things that people actually see and experience and notice. Okay? Not just to impress them, but so that we all have that, oh, our house looks better. Okay? Oh, our house looks better. That is a legitimate thing. And so if you feel like, and this is touchy, and I know there are some people who I always find it interesting. So I had a review, and there have been several like this over time, but a review on how to manage your home without losing your mind, one of my books, which you can find at aslobcomesclean.com/book, or wherever books are sold in any format in which books are put out. Anyway, but somebody had, I think it was a Goodreads review or something, and they had said that they really loved the book and it was really great, and then they went into this long thing about how it just felt like it was all on one person and it should be the whole family's responsibility. And I'm like, I write to the person who's reading the book. Okay? And if you read it out loud to your family, then all the yous are to the person who's actually, it's hitting their ears. Okay? So, because anyway, what did I get off on that subject for? My point is, you can only do what you can do. I don't think that was my point. Anyway, but the visibility rule ensures that the people in your house are going to actually experience what you have done, because it's really, sometimes it can be really hard. I think this was my point. It can be really hard when you feel like I'm working, I'm constantly doing stuff in my house, and it just never looks any better. Or I'm constantly doing stuff in my house, and yet all anybody ever notices is the bad stuff. Now, can there be situations where your house is legitimately great and people could come in, and yet somebody focuses on some random dusty spot behind the whatever door? Yes, of course. There can be those unhealthy relationship type things, but I'm talking about, it's a thing. I mean, I used to just feel like I was working on my house and working on my house and working on my house and never looked any better. Okay. But by focusing on the visibility rule, then my house looked better. Okay. And it was noticeable to me. It was noticeable to other people. And even if they don't verbally say it, there's going to be a difference. Okay. By working on the visible spaces first. I am so eloquent today. Do y'all feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel how eloquent I am? Okay. All right. Next. So focus on visibility rule. Always, always, always. And then acknowledge procrasticlutter. I really think that procrasticlutter is the number one culprit in this issue of the house just kind of getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse when you're never having outsiders come in. Okay, so procrasticlutter is the stuff that is going to have to be done at some point. It's unfolded laundry. It's the Amazon boxes that need to be broken down instead of just kind of thrown on top of that pile in your master bedroom. No, I'm not in my master bedroom right now looking at an Amazon box. Anyway, but it's these things that are going to have to be done. It's dishes. It's stuff like that has to be done at some point. And so in your mind, it's not legitimate clutter. Like if I'm going to take time to declutter, I'm not going to fold laundry. This is decluttering time. I need to do some real decluttering, and folding laundry is not decluttering. Except that if I don't deal with this procrasticlutter, I can declutter and my space doesn't look any better because there's still a big pile of unfolded laundry. There's still a pile of Amazon boxes that need to be broken down. I mean, so this is reality. This is truth, that procrasticlutter makes your house messy. And when you are having people come to your house, the number one thing that you're going to do is deal with all the procrastinator, right? You're going to get those clothes off of the love seat. You're going to break those boxes down and get them put away. And it's always like, oh, these are great. It feels like great motivation for me to have somebody coming over. It just forces me to go ahead and get this stuff done. Okay, you're going to make sure the dishes are washed and the kitchen's not a disaster. All those type things, those are procrastinator. So in this weird time where you don't have that impending doorbell, or let's just be honest, in normal life where you're like, okay, I just want my house to be better without having to have somebody scheduled to come over. Remind yourself that procrastinator makes a huge difference, okay? Because here's the thing. If you will walk through your house and say, okay, my house is feeling so messy, I'm feeling frustrated over it, tell yourself to identify procrastinator, okay? Even though it's going to feel like, why am I spending my time on this? Is this really going to make a lasting impact? No, because procrastinator also comes back quickly. Okay, it's something that just has to be dealt with again and again and again. And so it doesn't feel like legitimate decluttering, blah, blah, blah. So, but if you go through and you just say, I'm going to take a little time to go through and start in the most visible space and deal with the procrastinator, put these things away that I should have put away a long time ago. I'm going to go do that. It's going to make a huge visible impact on your home. Okay. And it also will help you start to identify procrastinator more quickly in the future, because every time that you go ahead and say, what is the procrastinator here? What can I go ahead and deal with that's going to make this space look better? Every time you do that and go, wow, that didn't take me very long, made a huge visible impact, made a big difference in how we feel about our home. I actually like my house now. Every time you do that, that good feeling is going to make you the next time go, oh, well, if I deal with this pile of clean laundry that's smaller than it was last time, I'm going to have a quick win and my house is going to look significantly better. And it starts to train you to do that. So really acknowledge procrastinator, tackle the procrastinator. Okay. And that will make a huge, huge difference in that. The other thing too about procrastinator is a big issue for me was that I would look around at my house and I would see a cluttered area. And especially in the beginning, I'd be like, well, there's a reason behind this. Okay. That stack of frames is there because I took them out of such and such space. And then I was thinking I was going to, I'm planning on redoing this other space and I think I'll use those frames again. Okay. And so there's a story behind it. In the beginning, this procrastinator, there's a story behind each little thing. Oh, well, that box of mail is there because it normally goes in such and such spot, but I moved it in here because such and such happened. It's just like everything has a little story. But the problem is visually, it starts to just kind of all blend together. Okay. And once you get a couple different types of procrastinator around, all of a sudden it just draws other things to it. And that's what turns it into a huge decluttering project eventually. Okay. Is when it's not just an identifiable, oh yeah, that's a group of things that I need to deal with in such and such way of procrastinator. Makes sense? Okay. So one of the things that made me think about this, in awkward pauses, a moment or a morning, remind yourself out loud if you need to tackle the procrastinator and start in the most visible space. Follow the visibility rule. Okay. So one of the things that made me think about this was when we did have those plumbers come through 3 different times now in the course of a week and a half. Anyway, when we had those plumbers come through, they were able to come pretty quickly. And so I was like, okay. So they had to go through my bedroom, which is always the scariest spot. And I didn't get it perfect or anything, but I did push my dresser drawers in. I did, pick up the clothes that were somehow next to the laundry hamper and put them in the laundry hamper. I did straighten up a couple of little things, and it still looked like a messy bedroom, but it wasn't a disastrous bedroom. And it was like so quickly, it made a huge difference in how the bedroom looked. And I wasn't humiliated for these people to walk through my bedroom. 15 million times in a week and a half. But anyway, or, oh, wow, why is there a pile of hangers over there? Okay, I'm going to go deal with that right now. That kind of stuff, that opening up of the eyes, the things I dealt with were simply procrastinator. They were simply things that visually made the space look messy, that were just a matter of me going, why have I not done that already? I have no idea why. Okay. No, it's nothing exciting. It's nothing dramatic. But if I will take care of those couple little things, it makes a huge, huge difference. Okay. All right. Also know that if this is a conversation you've had with your family members, try to take it and know that most likely, they are not asking for perfection, where sometimes it can feel like a complainer is asking for perfection. And I know I can never be perfect. Okay. So go ahead and give yourself that permission to just do a little bit better, to start in the visible spaces, to deal with the procrastinator, so that it makes that impact. And, instead of just going, oh my goodness, they want me to be perfect and I never can be. I'm the person here to be the one to say, it's okay. Just try to make it better. Okay. Things to do, very specific things to do. Go do your dishes. I've talked about this forever and ever and ever. Make sure your dish drainer is emptied. Empty it all the way, even that thing that's been drying for the last month and a half in there. Make sure your clean clothes are put away. Put them away. If there's a project that you haven't finished, or you've really truly given up on, but you haven't been willing to admit it, get that out of some living area, some space where people need to be able to live in instead. And just acknowledge that sometimes just straightening up, like taking a corner that's full of piles and just stack it a little bit nicer. Of course you want to deal with it and actually get it out of there, but straightening can make a huge, huge impact. So taking a 5-minute pickup, doing those 5-minute pickups, maybe, assigning the other family members to be, y'all pick stuff off the floor or the surfaces and go put it where it goes. I'm going to take this time to straighten this area that is ultimately a decluttering project that I'm going to have to do one day. But even if I will just straighten it, it's amazing the impact that it can have on the house. And also to remember that momentum is key. Okay. So cleared spaces inspire you to clear more spaces, which results in more cleared spaces. Yeah. So when a space is better, you're going to see and identify and acknowledge and register the procrastinator more easily, more quickly. Okay. Cleared spaces are easier to get back under control. When I say a cleared space, I mean you have decluttered it. You've gotten rid of all the stuff that doesn't deserve to be in that space. It can get much more quickly under control. Okay. I'm going to stop there, and we're going to hope that this was not horrific. Who even knows? Okay. But thanks, you guys. Thanks so much. I've enjoyed so much all the new members that we've had of our Patreon community, our super secret Facebook group. If you are a member of Patreon, if you have joined over the summer and you are not in the Facebook group yet, I just realized that where it used to be one of the very top posts now, because, over the summer, you had your little mini podcast that came out just for Patreon patrons. It was a little farther down, and so you may have missed seeing the form that you have to fill out for me to invite you to the Facebook group. So anyway, if you can't find it, just email aslobcomesclean@gmail.com, and my assistant Jennifer will get you taken care of and get you that form, because we have to have the form so we can invite you to the group. I wish that wasn't that way, but for it to be secret, like where nobody can search the group and see who's in it or anything like that, which is important to a lot of people, then we have to invite you by email. We can't anyway, it's confusing. So thanks for joining me today. If you want to be a patron, go to Patreon, patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.